Step into the shadows of history and unlock a secret kept for nearly a century and a half. Imagine standing on the wind-swept ridge at Little Bighorn, not as a legend or a nameless face, but as the one man who would live to carry Custer's final message. Tonight, we invite you to journey beyond the headlines, deep into the heart of the Wild West's most infamous battle. Who really was John Martin, Custer's bugler, and what truths did he witness on that blood-stained day? The myths you thought you knew, the mysteries left unsolved, prepare to see them unravel and transform before your eyes. This is not just a tale of clash and calamity. It's the voice of a survivor who saw legends fall. As we uncover his untold story, layer by layer, secret by secret, you'll find yourself questioning everything about Custer's last stand. Was the truth hidden in plain sight? What secrets did Martin take from the roaring gunfire to the silent prairie? Stay with us to the very end, because by the time the last note fades, you'll never see the Wild West the same way again. Hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready. History is about to reveal its best-kept secret. History perhaps, the focused is her college subject with Ibrahim's crew and sustained it and supporting. Experience one of the most notorious engagements in U.S. history as recounted by the lone witness from Custer's ranks. In this remarkable and vivid first-person narrative, John Martin, Custer's own bugler, shares the startling realities behind the Battle of the Little Bighorn. With forthright honesty, Martin relays his ordeal, dispelling popular misconceptions and illuminating new aspects of the conflict that forever altered the Wild West. Prepare yourself for an unparalleled exposé, taking you straight back to the pivotal moments of 1876. Settle in as we retrace these dramatic events together, and while watching, don't forget to support our community by liking the video and subscribing to our channel. On June 25, 1876, trumpeter John Martin, who served as Custer's orderly, recounts the significant occurrences of that historic day. According to Martin, only he and Bishop of C Troop from G Troop's contingent filled the role of orderlies for Custer. The precise count, as Martin remembers, he further clarifies that Lieutenant James A. Nolan, quartermaster for the regiment, remained with the supply convoy back at Powder River. Near the mouth of the Rosebud, Scout Mitch Boyer provided General Terry with intelligence on Sitting Bull's encampment. The officers requested Boyer's guidance to the site, though Boyer hesitated, fearing retribution. Once aligned with Sitting Bull, Boyer had a price set on his head, 100 ponies offered for him. Custer tried to allay his fears, insisting that if Boyer fell, so would the entire regiment. Martin recalls the moment the main column under Custer diverged from Reno, noting the absence of native forces on the distant ridge. He describes the column's advance ranks. Other witnesses, Curley and Sergeant Daniel Knipe, corroborated Martin's depiction of their path, one which traversed the ground later taken by Reno's retreat. At the crest, Custer paused the march for roughly 10 minutes. During this lull, officers surveyed the settlement with binoculars, children at play, dogs weaving amidst the lodges, but not a trace of warriors or mounts save for stray ponies. They debated the warriors' whereabouts, wondering if the men had gone to hunt buffalo, as skinned hides had been seen recently. Custer then rallied the soldiers with a bold proclamation. "We'll ford the river and seize the village." Jubilant cheers broke out, hats thrown aside in celebration, as the officers agreed the plan would force the resistance to capitulate when they returned, as none would risk their family's safety. At this point, Sergeant Knipe was dispatched with Custer's last directive for Benteen. Martin, also tasked with delivering this message, this time in writing, set off shortly after, as he recounts below. Though neither was the last to see Custer alive, the narratives of Martin and Knipe are vital to a full understanding of the engagement. The troops received their commands, repositioned, and moved down the slope toward a dry watercourse. Martin estimates they advanced about half a mile before Lieutenant Cook stopped to draft orders for Benteen, assigning Martin to deliver them. Custer instructed, "Trumpeter, retrace our route and locate Benteen. Give him this message. Should you meet no resistance, return to us. But if you find hostile forces, stay with Benteen." Setting out, Martin soon heard sustained gunfire from his right before reaching their earlier lookout. He later deduced these may have been Reno's forces clashing with the enemy near the river crossing. Soon thereafter, Martin encountered Boston Custer, hurrying to rejoin the main command. Arriving at the ridge, Martin gazed down to see warriors charging toward the river, buffalo hiding aloft like banners, while Custer's men pulled back across the open fields. He never shared this testimony at the Reno inquiry, suspecting the panel didn't want every detail revealed, and he was not further queried by officers on the event. As Martin pressed onward, shots rang out, one striking his horse, blood spattering his uniform. He continued on to meet Benteen and accompanied him back. Upon presenting the note, Benteen questioned Custer's location and condition. Martin replied, saying Custer was 3 miles away and engaged in battle, but gave no further specifics. During his return, he did not encounter Reno, nor did he witness enemy forces or conflict in the area where Reno would later be found. Martin remembers Benteen's unit advancing when Reno, missing his hat, approached and requested a halt to reorganize. Meanwhile, Benteen narrowly dodged a bullet. The heel of his boot shot away. He joked, "That was a near miss, try again." Martin also observed 4 Crow scouts with Reno atop the hill throughout the prolonged siege. He reports that detailed searches combed the terrain, descending to the river, even dispatching squads to recover the fallen. Sergeant Butler of E Troop was found in such a search, his horse dead nearby. Martin doubts Butler was a messenger that day. Further, Martin saw a heap of bodies in a deep wash between Custer's last stand and the river. One dead sergeant, tasked with carrying pay, lay amid $500 of scattered torn currency. Martin also comments that more dead men than horses marked the battlefield. He confirms that Lieutenant Cook's sideburns were scalped clean by Cheyenne warrior Wooden Leg, as corroborated by other witnesses. Martin's description of Custer and Tom Custer's wounds matches accounts given by Tom O'Neill and Hammond. He mentions that Keogh's gold chain and Catholic medal were left untouched, discovered later by Benteen. Along the riverbank, Martin observed numerous dead indigenous fighters, though he did not tally their number. He also notes that the horse Comanche, despite injuries, trailed the soldiers to the riverboat on its own. Initially thought lost, the horse survived. When General Terry arrived on June 27th, Martin showed him where he and Custer parted, recounting all he had witnessed to the general. Custer's first halt occurred atop Weir's Hill, where he surveyed only a segment of the village, chiefly the Hunk and Blackfoot camps. From here, the column veered right, dropping into a gully reaching Dry Creek, then left, proceeding straight for the settlement. About midway to the Little Bighorn River, the encampment came fully into view, a first for Custer. At this spot, Cook drafted the message for Benteen, which Martin was to carry. Rather than backtrack along Dry Creek, Martin chose to cut across higher ground. From that vantage, he spotted Custer and his men on the flat, while hostile warriors, buffalo hides billowing, rushed the riverbanks. The troops seemed to be retreating from the water, and this, Martin recalls, was his last sight of the 5 companies alive. Pressing onward, Martin encountered a mounted C Troop soldier who asked after the command. Martin warned him to fall back, fearing he'd be isolated, but the rider pushed on. Next, Martin met Boston Custer, then rejoined Benteen's men. As Benteen's troops neared the river, they turned north along the bluffs. There, the group met 3 Crow scouts, White Man Runs Him, Goes Ahead, and Harry McCassin, who explained that Reno's men were now fleeing in retreat below. Martin insists that, contrary to some reports, Custer's troops did indeed advance practically to the river's edge, far beyond the disputed location. He personally accompanied Custer to within a few hundred yards of the river. He recalls seeing Custer's force on the plain, drawing away from the river. Up until recently, there was little debate about how close they came to the water. When Reno called on Benteen to halt, Benteen showed him Cook's message. Reno, bareheaded and visibly distressed, lamented his losses, saying he had done all that could be done. At that moment, warriors formed in the gully below and began climbing the hill, prompting Benteen to lead a countercharge at the head of the column. Prior to these events, the fighting was so close that stones were being hurled into their lines. The charge resulted in 3 enemy dead, 1 left unclaimed by his comrades late on June 25th. On June 27th, Martin again pointed out to Benteen where he'd left Custer with the message. Benteen estimated the distance to the ford at about 600 yards. Martin did not accompany Terry out to the ford that day, but when Terry arrived, Reno introduced Martin as the last messenger from Custer. The general questioned Martin about his journey and remarked, "You're fortunate indeed. I wish you well." In the village, Martin saw 2 lodges housing dead Sioux warriors, and nearby, a heap of bodies covered by blankets beneath a tree. Daniel Kneep showed him a dead white man in the village, reportedly sheltered inside a lodge. In your cool's offering thee, ask yourself, what secrets still echo across the windswept hills of Little Bighorn? Was John Martin truly the last voice of a vanished era, or do shadows of this story stretch further than we can imagine? The Wild West is crowded with legends, but only a handful ever speak from the heart of the storm. Which mysteries remain just beyond our reach, and what new truths await discovery in the forgotten journals, dust-covered letters, or descendants' fading memories? Could the real story of Custer's bugler hold hidden clues that rewrite what we know about history itself? We want to hear your thoughts. Did any details surprise you? Her stories from that battlefield remain untold. What theory intrigues you most about Custer's last stand? Drop your questions and wildest theories in the comments below. Maybe together we'll uncover the next chapter in this enduring enigma. And remember, sometimes the greatest adventures are the ones that leave us wondering just a little bit more. If you found yourself spellbound by this untold story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your curiosity keeps these legends alive.